In this episode of TGIF, Sanit wants to jump, Anand walks around a bike, RS drives an expensive car again, and Akash has a mini car, and lots more.
Let's get rolling.
Well, hello.
Hi.
Why is there just two chairs? Where's everybody else?
Well, everyone is busy shooting cars and bikes for this very episode.
How irresponsible of them to keep two of the youngest folks in the team to manage this week's episode.
And yeah, that's exactly what it is. So welcome back to TGIF. And speaking of being irresponsible and keeping us in the dark, Mercedes-Benz pulled off a very similar stunt. Not irresponsible, but keeping us in the dark about a new car that they've brought to the Indian market. And having said that, we weren't allowed to even know what car it was till we actually uncovered it ourselves. So,
Interesting.
you want to see it?
Yes, definitely. Let's go.
So we are at the Mercedes-Benz plant in Chakan in Pune to take a look at a car that they didn't tell us about. But check it out, it's the new Mercedes-Benz E-Class. The 6th generation long wheelbase that now comes to India. And it's a very important car because the first ever Mercedes-Benz to make in India was the E-Class, and this is the 6th generation. Now, if you're a Mercedes-Benz nerd and take the nameplate away, for 50 odd years, the upper mid-range sedans have been sold. And Mercedes says the E-Class has sold more than 17 million units. That means it's the best-selling car for them worldwide. So what's the new E-Class got? Let's find out. So let's start with the design. Now it gets a completely new grille with the new Mercedes logo, the TriStar, and small TriStar motifs integrated in them. The full LED headlamp setup gets new DRLs and have a reminiscence of the double barrel style headlamps from the yesteryear E-Class. Very cool, right? In terms of the proportions, the new E-Class is longer, it's wider, and it's taller compared to the previous generation. It gets 18-inch alloy wheels, flush-fitting door handles that pop out when you approach the car, and you also have this rear 3/4 glass which is in a Maybach style, so it's not integrated in the door but is separate. Now even the normal S-Class doesn't get that. Only the Maybach and the new E-Class. At the rear, it gets the TriStar logo integrated in the LED headlamps as well, and it looks very cool. Overall, it looks regal, it looks understated, and probably the best in its class. Do you guys agree? Let me know in the comments below. And now on the inside, the dashboard is obviously dominated by screens. You have one for the passenger, one for the infotainment screen, and a separate one for the digital instrument cluster. Now, Mercedes calls this the Super Screen Trio. Now about that, you also have new vents which are integrated in the dashboard, and you can control them using the infotainment screen. Very techy, right? But if you're old school like me, you also have manual controls, thankfully. Now it's got a nice ambient lighting strip included in the vent itself, and one behind it that goes all around the car and looks quite nice. If you take a closer look at this little bump here, it's a camera that takes selfies, it takes videos, it takes Zoom calls, and all of this while you're stationary. And if you are driving, the video feed on the screen will stop and the people on the other end of the call can see you while you drive. Very, very tech packed. Like, this can have its own tech video. And one very cool feature that I really like is it's got routines. So it learns from you. You can set routines like what you want to do at a specific time or geolocation or at specific weather conditions also. So that is something that we're going to get detailed into when we do our first drive review. Now, historically, the rear seats is where most E-Class passengers spend their time. So Mercedes has given it a reclining rear seat that reclines up to 36 degrees. You also have extendable under thigh support, which makes use of the additional 15 mm in the long wheelbase version. You also have these nice open pore wood trim, these nice leather, and even these Maybach style cushions even the front passengers get. In terms of privacy, you get an electric sunblind for the window, and you also have a manual one for the quarter glass. You have control for your panoramic sunroof, and everything feels so nice and so opulent to be in. In terms of tech and other amenities, you get a 4-zone climate control setup, so you don't have to fight with your wife. You also get an additional wireless charger to the one in the front, and you have a 17-speaker Burmester audio system with energizers in the seat that give you a 4D sound system, which means the seats vibrate according to the thump in the bass of the favorite song that you're playing. Now you can play it through Apple Music, Spotify, or even YouTube, because now the infotainment screen gets all of that inbuilt like your phone. Soft closed doors, and this goes up against the likes of the new BMW 5 Series that was launched earlier this year and the new Audi A6 that is scheduled to come later this year. What do you guys think about it? Let us know in the comments below. And don't worry, we're going to get to drive it very soon and give you an in-depth comprehensive review of this. And with that, back to the studio.
Well, that's very cool. The E-Class is one of the most iconic models of Mercedes-Benz. But my question is, why are there the screens only in the front and not at the back?
Good question. So I actually had a long conversation with their product head, and he's been seeing a trend in the Indian market that Mercedes-Benz consumers are getting younger.
Yeah.
And they prefer to drive their own cars and be in the front even when they're being chauffeured. And that's why they're offering such amount of tech in the new E-Class. It's the most tech-fested
Definitely
sedan in the segment right now. And having said that, it's also going to be something that you and I can probably afford in the coming few years.
Oh, for sure.
That's a hint to the editor. And speaking of affordable cars and the editor, and he's been driving around one of the most expensive cars that are associated with pride, status, and a long lineage from UK. And it's funnily now slightly more affordable to the Indian market.
First of all, please offer my deepest condolences to all those who bought the Range Rover before the Made in India Range Rover came in the picture. Yes, it's cheaper by 50 lakhs, and that's a lot of money for the same Range Rover. There is no difference because it is made in India now, and that's a proud moment for Tata Motors and for us, because Range Rover is an iconic brand, and the Range Rover Autobiography, SV, all of that are cars which are top of the line, and it's actually something, the only brand which actually owned by Indian and which competes with the Germans at a global level. And talking about Germans, this actually competes with the Mercedes-Benz GLS, which costs about 1.4 crores, which is a crore cheaper than this 2.4 crores. For almost the same specs, V6, street return, all of that remains the same in terms of paper. Ride quality, I would actually rate GLS at par with the Range Rover. What Range Rover gets in addition from GLS is a 50 mm of length, width and height, overall bigger than the GLS. That's also a lot of legroom. But in terms of ride quality and comfort, GLS is as good as this. But in terms of looks and design, this is where the Range Rover completely lanes it. There's nothing like this. The moment you pass the road presence, it's really something that holds attention. And also GLS and GLE and GLC, all of them somehow looks with each other in a similar fashion, so you can't really make a distinction if you look from very far. Whereas in this case, this looks its part. In terms of quality, in terms of, if you compare this with the CBU, there's really nothing you can pick. I always had issues at the back seat because even at a 5,000 km level, there will be a lot of creaks of the seat noise, etc., which will keep coming in. The quality overall would not be to your liking. You're paying a lot of money. For that, you need more refinement. No matter what I say, there's a long waiting period. Personally, if I have to buy, I think I'll also settle for this, because there's something about the Range Rover that just bites you. There is nothing like this at the price point. It is a car that can take you at the rear seat, you can take the wheel, you can go on off-roading, you can go to office, you can pull up on a red carpet, you can do anything and look extremely cool about it. Yes, if you have 3 crores to spend, then you are somebody of an importance, and I expect you to go all of these places. This is not a review, this is just a comparison, because this is manufactured in India. It is a proud moment for all of us that this can be manufactured in India of that car. There is no car actually of that luxury level which actually manufactures in India. We need more and more cars. In fact, we want someone to start manufacturing a supercar like a Lamborghini Huracan. You know, this is a 3-liter HSE diesel. It's not the autobiography, which means that you don't get a champagne fridge at the rear seat. You don't get a seat which can completely recline. You don't get a boss seat. Though it's very comfortable, you can recline to a certain degree, but you can't really stretch yourself. There's acres of leg room. That's not a point. That is completely taken care of. You get at the boot, you get a seat, but you don't get a seat with a backrest. You know, of all of those things that you crave for, then you'll be ready to shell out a couple of crores more, and then you get the autobiography SVI edition, which is the best one to get your hands on. But they've not only dropped the price, they've also made something which was optional in the Made in India version. For example, the all-wheel drive, now that comes standard, which was an optional. And the rear wheel, actually, there's also all-wheel steering. So those two things makes driving and moving around on this big car rather very, very comfortable. From the inside, you feel that it's a very intimidating car, but at the same time, it doesn't look that you are driving a big car. It gets easily maneuvers. There's always a feeling of driving on a second floor level. That feeling doesn't go. But that's a great feeling because you see everyone down below. That's not right, but that's what you feel. Back to the studio, guys.
Well, even though the price tag has gone down by 50 lakhs, it's still expensive.
And that's fine because even though with the bigger price tag, the Range Rover had many takers in our country, and now I feel that pool is now just going to expand a lot more with the status it offers, the performance, the comfort, and after all, it's a Range Rover.
Oh yeah, for sure. Now tell me, what are the bike guys up to?
Surprisingly, Akash, who's a proper bike guy or claims to be a rider, wanted to drive a car this week.
I feel he'll be slow.
And it's a very special one. So let's check what he's been up to.
So I'm sat in the Countryman EV, and yes, this is a very special vehicle according to me. It not only drives well, it does a lot of things beautifully. So when you get inside the car, the whole fabric stitching, the whole fabric interior with the ambient lighting inside it gives me a very good feel. And with a 9.6-inch round display, which is very intuitive to use. You get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto on. Pretty phenomenal to be inside this car. So it also has capabilities of charging within 30 minutes and 45 minutes. Yada yada yada. You can get the rest. So why would you buy this vehicle is the biggest question. You would want to buy this because A, you want to stand out of the crowd. That's the whole aspect of buying a Mini for me. And also because it does everything correctly. Even if you do move from, let's say, an OEM brand, let's say a BMW or an Audi, this will not disappoint you. You will not feel there's something lacking. It is a special car. It may not have like a few gimmicky features, additional features, but then this has all the features that would make a complete car out. And you get your sunroof, you get a camera to take your selfie. What else do you need in the world? Well, the range is pretty good as well. Range is around 400-ish odd kilometers. So you will get a good range out of it and use it for your all daily purposes. It does not crash on, let's say, bad potholes, and also takes, speed breakers quite properly. And it's a proper SUV as far as road-going SUVs are concerned, which you will be using inside the city. The wheelbase has been increased by 13mm, also gives you more space in the rear seat, and the seats are comfortable as hell. And also, adding on to that it has a very usable boot. So if you're a family or if you need to cater to more people in everyday life, this will be the car that you would want to choose. And this is a really, really special vehicle, whether you sit inside, whether you stand outside of it. However, if you do stand outside, some of your friends might come up to you and say, okay, this looks like a Swift. Now that's the only problem that I've felt with it, because the looks of this updated Countryman kind of gives you a Swifty vibe, and India is blessed with a plethora of Swift or Swift looking cars. So that is the only catch I feel I have. But other than that, I'm really happy. It's a very poised, very subtle, very nice vehicle. And with that said, back to the studio.
It's ironic how it's such a big electric SUV but still comes under the Mini badging.
Yeah, and that's true for the Mini Cooper S as well. And a lot of you have commented on our social media page saying that the Mini Cooper has become big compared to the one in the 1960s, the Austin Cooper. But all I will say is go watch last week's episode of TGIF and see how much fun Roshan had driving it, and you will want to drive it yourself too.
Yeah, I wanted to drive it too.
Unfortunately, Anant can't say this for this episode because he was only allowed to walk around a bike and not ride it this time.
Yes, finally a bike. Let's go watch it.
Well, it might not be raining in Mumbai anymore, but it has been raining motorcycles from classic legends. I mean, we were trying to get over the euphoria caused by the launch and the ride of the BSA Gold Star, and we are here again at Mehboob Studios in Bandra to witness the launch of another new motorcycle from classic legends, and this time around it is the Jawa 42 FJ350. Now, if you're wondering what the FJ moniker stands for, now FJ, they are trying to pay a homage to the founder of Jawa. So FJ are the initials of the founder of the Jawa, and you can see the inscriptions on the logo as well. I mean, there's neat FJ written over here. So that is a very nice touch, and as classic legends go, the motorcycle, it is splattered with nice touches and elements all across the bodywork. Now, it might look strikingly similar to the Jawa 42 sans the new paintwork, but there are some critical changes even when it comes to the design of the motorcycle. So let's just talk about the design, shall we? Now, to start with, it gets a new fuel tank with these anodized aluminum finishes right here, and in person they look very, very premium to say the least. And even if you take a look at where the fuel lid is placed, it is now an offset unit. Previously and still on the regular Jawa 350, the fuel lid is centered right here. And there's also an offset instrument cluster. All the details, all the layout, it remains exactly the same as the regular Jawa 350. Now, apart from all these changes, we also get to see new color schemes from Jawa, and they are very, very beautiful to look at. Now, if we talk about other changes when it comes to the overall design philosophy of the motorcycle, we also get to see new grab handles here. And apart from that, there's a new aluminum headlamp holder, which is very premium looking again. So in person, it is actually a very well-built motorcycle, and it stays away from the notion that, you know, the recent Jawa and ESD motorcycles are not that at par when it comes to the quality levels. But as far as the Jawa 350 FJ goes, it is very well built. Now let's get a little technical. Now, the engine that you see here, it belongs to the Alpha 2 family. The very first motorcycle that we rode with the updated engine was the Jawa 350. Then we got to ride the ESD Adventure. Now the powertrain that you see here, it is the same unit as the ESD Adventure, and it puts down 29.1 PS and 29.6 Newton meters of torque. Much more grunty as compared to your classic 350. Well, yes, and they've also worked upon the NVH levels of the engine, which used to be a little bothersome in the previous iterations of both the Jawa and ESD motorcycles. But now the NVH levels are pretty decent, and we can expect the similar sort of ride experience from the Jawa 350 FJ as well. Now, that's your engine. It also gets an assistant slipper clutch, so the clutch action is pretty light. It also gets a 6-speed gearbox, and how it is to actually ride the motorcycle, that we'll tell you in the first ride experience, because they are saying that they have also tuned the engine according to the characteristics of the FJ as compared to the Adventure. So the tuning is slightly different that we get to see here. Now, apart from that, the other cycle parts that we get to see are fatter 41mm telescopic forks at the front and a 320mm front disc brake. Now, there's one good thing about the Jawa 350 FJ, and that is the variation that you are going to get according to the motorcycle that you want to get. So it is available with spoke wheels, alloy wheels both, and you can even get a single channel ABS variant as well as a dual channel ABS variant. Now, at the back, it gets twin shock absorbers, not a monoshock, and even the rear disc brake, it is of 240mm. Now, let's just take a look at the rider's ergonomics as well. Now, if you see, we have seen the similar power plant in the ESD Roadster as well, but the difference is in the Roadster, you place your foot here, so it is a forward riding stance, but on the Jawa 350 FJ, your feet are placed like this. So it is sort of a slightly sportier riding approach as compared to what we find on the ESG Roadster. And it is also, as compared to the regular Jawa 350, the regular Jawa 42, it is also longer wheelbase and taller as well. Also, one more thing which I missed out on is that upswept exhaust. So it is also a new addition, particularly for the FJ variant. Now, how it is to ride as compared to the Jawa 42, whether it can hold the candle against the very charming Royal Enfield Classic 350, that we'll be able to tell you once we get our hands on the Jawa 350 FJ, on the Jawa 42 FJ out in the real world. Now the pricing, it starts from 1.99 lakh and goes up until 2.2 lakh. The motorcycles will reach their dealerships in like 2 to 3 days time. You can book the motorcycle starting from today, and the deliveries will commence on 2nd of October. Now that's about it. If you have any questions related to Jawa 42 FJ, let me know in the comment section below.
We are definitely not the bike guys, but we are car guys. So now you're gonna tell me why we are here and not in the studio.
Before I tell you why we are here for a very special car. But before that, why don't we check out what's happened in the past week and take you through all the news headlines. So back to the studio for that one.
Welcome to this week's Rev Report. My name is Akash and I'm going to take you through all the interesting things that have happened in this week. The Maruti Suzuki Swift CNG has been launched at 8.20 lakhs. Maruti has now decided to put a Bartley into their Swift and make it more efficient than ever. It is supposed to give 6% more mileage over the ICE counterpart and also supposed to cost 90,000 more. Mileage now sits at 32.85 kilometers per kilogram. Does that make it more exciting to buy the entry-level hatchback? My only wish is that if they had a twin bottle design like the Tata does, they could have got a lot more boot space out of it. MG Windsor launched at 9.99 lakhs. Now, MG Windsor is supposed to be a very disruptive product in its market and it's now launched at 9.99 lakhs, but without the battery. The battery comes as a battery as a service system where you'll have to pay 3.4 or 3.5 rupees per kilometer, and that is how the ownership of the battery will work out. The details are still a little cloudy, so we'll get to know as we get to know. MG is also introducing a 360-degree plan to also have a potential buyback to your vehicle where it almost ensures, 60% retention of its value after 3 years or 45,000 kilometers. Ola becomes the first EV maker to cross 3 lakh units in 1 year. Smoking hot news, but then Ola is also having its showrooms burned somewhere in Karnataka because there are unsatisfied customers. So kudos to them for crossing 3 lakh units because they're the only company to do so, and even if you see the second and third place, which is TVS and Ather, they have a lot of catching up to do. Ola is leaving its competitors to the dust, but then it is also having its showroom burnt on fire. So where do you stand with Ola? Please let us know in the comment section below. Adrian Newey now makes his way back to Aston Martin. The father has returned with the Valkyrie. The prodigal father has returned this time. And Adrian Newey back being in Aston Martin will actually change a lot of things and a lot of luck for that team. They have the Mercedes engine, they have the drivers in the form of Fernando Alonso and also, I like to say, Lance Stroll. But what is missing is the witchcraft that is needed in terms of downforce. And Adrian Newey, since he's the downforce king, with now him making way to Aston Martin, will change their luck forever. I am gonna bet on it. And if somebody bets against me, you can let us know. His salary is a staggering 328 crores, 73 lakhs, 55,000 rupees. Yes, you heard that right. This is a part of a cost that needs to be taken in order to win or make a championship winning car. Radio communication has been introduced into the 2025 MotoGP season. This will allow the FIM to have direct connections with the riders, and this also brings up the level of safety on the sport. Two-way communication between the engineers and the riders will be tested out later in the year or maybe in the next year, depending upon the success of this one. And to stop it off with, Marc Marquez has won in San Marino after an amazing ride in the rain. He is the master of flag-to-flag racing, and yes, it has been proved in the San Marino GP. If you haven't seen the San Marino GP, what are you doing with your life? Go watch motorsports. And with that, back to the studio.
Okay, news bits are over. Can I please know why we are here now?
Maybe. Okay, so we're here to check out a very special car. It's the new Hyundai Alcazar, and I will be taking you through all it has to offer in the terms of interior, exterior features, safety features. But here's the surprise, and you're the one who's going to get to drive it.
Yeah.
But thanks to embargoes, it's not in this episode. It's going to come out next week. So make sure to hit that bell notification icon. So let me show you what it gets.
Yes, let's go.
So let's start with the visual designs up front. You get a new 8th style DRL signature with a connected LED bar. The headlamps have been stacked and you have a more squarish boxy front end with this grille and revised bumper design. In terms of the design language, this car resembles more of the Creta N line than the Creta itself. On the side, you get a DCT badge and new 18-inch alloy wheels. They should have been cleaner, but we've clearly had some fun with it. The interior has been completely revamped, very similar to the Creta in terms of the layout. You have the twin screen setup, one for your infotainment screen and the digital driver's display. And besides having a wireless charger up front and behind, you're still going to need a cable because the top end variant still does not get wireless Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. Great other functions are memory seats for the front, electric seats for both the front passengers and ventilation function. Oh, and I almost forgot, a massive panoramic sunroof. So at the rear, the Alcazar comes in a 6-seat configuration or a 7-seater. The 6-seat configuration gets these nice captain seats which move back and forward, have a recline function and can also extend the under thigh support. Now if I want more leg space, I can just press this button and the front seat moves ahead and also gets this nice table with an integrated cup holder. Other amenities include a wireless charging pad, dual Type-C charging ports, a ventilated function for the rear seats as well, sun blind. Now like the first row, the second row also has scooped out seats and for reference I'm 6 feet 2 inches. So tight space in the third row with pretty much non-existent under thigh support, but amenities on offer are quite good because I get my very own air conditioning vents with blower settings and Type-C charging ports besides this adjustable headrest. And the rear also gets a comprehensive update in the form of a connected LED bar, LED tail lamps and a new design for the lower bumper. What has been retained is the twin exhaust tips that signify a little bit of sportiness besides this red turbo badge. And for boot space, you have 180 liters, so you can probably fit 4 of these backpacks. And if you want more, you can just fold down the seats. So the updates to the Alcazar have just made it a better product proposition. It looks better, has more features and tech in it and is more comfortable as well. But how is it to drive? Unfortunately, our opinions are under embargo this week, so you'll have to stay tuned for next week's Top Gear India Fridays episode. And now I know Meera has been waiting for the keys to the car, so I'm going to head back to the studio.
Now, if you're done blabbering, can I go drive it?
Before that, I'm going to conclude the episode. While the older, much experienced people are busy finding their old age homes, we are trying to keep you entertained. So if you like this video, let us know by hitting that like button.
And like, share and subscribe to the Top Gear India channel.
Thank you for watching. Dibs on the keys.